Canada's ban on foreign buyers is set to expire on January 1st, 2027, and Ottawa is actively reviewing what comes next. One option on the table? Letting foreign buyers back in, but only for new construction. And that's just the start. Almost every housing rule we built in the last decade was written for a market that no longer exists. In the next several minutes, I'm going to show you what is being reviewed, how it actually works in Australia, where the federal government and BC are fighting about it, what it actually means if you're buying or selling in Metro Vancouver. Let's go. Quick context, my name is Dan J. Reilly. I'm a realtor in Greater Vancouver, and I work in residential real estate all across Metro Vancouver every single week. Everything in this video is fact-checked against federal housing law, CMHC, BC government data, and current industry coverage. Sources are in the description. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a policy expert. What I am giving you is the plain English version and what it means on the ground. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. In January 2023, the federal government brought in a law with a long name, the Prohibition on the Purchase of Residential Property by Non-Canadian Citizens Act. Most people just call it the Foreign Buyers Ban, and it does what it sounds like. With some exceptions, it stops people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents from buying residential property in Canada. There are some carve-outs. Work permit holders with at least 183 days remaining on their permit, eligible international students, refugees, diplomats, and spouses buying jointly with a Canadian. But for the most part, if you are not a Canadian citizen or a PR, you cannot buy. The ban was supposed to run for just 2 years. Then, in February 2024, Ottawa extended it another 2 years. The ban is now set to expire on January 1st, 2027. Unless the government extends it again, that is the date the federal restriction comes off. And that is just the federal layer. We'll get into BC's own rules in a minute. Here's the news most buyers haven't caught. In December 2025, Canada's federal housing minister, Gregor Robertson, confirmed that Ottawa is formally reviewing the ban. What should come next, what should replace it, and whether to extend it. And the model getting the most attention is the one Australia already uses. And it's worth understanding how that model actually works. In Australia, foreign buyers are not blocked entirely. They're allowed to buy new construction and vacant land, but they are still barred from buying existing homes. The logic is simple. If foreign capital is going to come in, point it at building new supply, not at bidding up the houses that are already there. That is the model Robertson said he is interested in. Nothing is decided yet. The review is open, but the direction is on the table and the clock is running. Industry has noticed. A group of BC's largest developers, including BD, Cressy, Intracorp, Polygon, and Westbank, published an open letter asking the federal government to ease the ban. That is real pressure, and it's being heard. And there's one more piece worth understanding about Australia. The system they use, run through what they call the Foreign Investment Review Board, has been in place for decades. It is not an experiment. Foreign buyers need approval before they buy, and the approval steers them toward new construction and vacant land for development. The result? Foreign capital goes to building things, not to bidding up the existing housing stock. That is the precedent Ottawa is studying, and it is part of why the review is gaining momentum. You can argue whether it works, but you can't argue whether that is theoretical. Australia has been running this since the 1970s. So why is this happening now? Because the market these rules were built for is gone. And let me be fair to the moment they were originally created. Back in 2016 through 2022, this region was brutal for ordinary people. Prices were climbing double digits a year. Rents were exploding. The rental vacancy rate was under 1%. People were priced out, rent-evicted, furious. They'd walk past empty homes with the grass growing wild. In that world, a foreign buyer ban, an empty homes tax, a speculation tax, they all made political sense. However, look at the market now. Metro Vancouver's rental vacancy rate just hit 3.7%. That is the highest it has been since 1988, up 1.6% just a year before. Rents are actually falling. They've dropped year over year for more than 2 years straight, well below their 2023 peak. And here's the big one. In 2025, British Columbia's population fell by more than 41,000 people. That is only the second annual decline in the entire history of the province. The first was in the 1870s. The rules were written for a shortage. Right now, we're not in that shortage. And it's not just rents and population. The pre-sale market has collapsed. Developers are pausing projects. Builders are sitting on unsold inventory. Vancouver now has the highest pile of unsold completed condos in the entire country per CMHC. That is not normal. This is what happens when supply runs ahead of demand for the first time in 20 years. That's the environment that is making foreign capital look attractive again to the people who build housing in this country. But here's where it gets complicated and where most coverage gets it wrong. The foreign buyer ban is federal. It is just one layer. British Columbia has its own layers stacked on top. First, the province charges an extra 20% property transfer tax on foreign buyers in designated areas, including all of Metro Vancouver. On a $1 million property, that is $200,000 in additional tax just for being a foreign buyer. Second, BC has a speculation and a vacancy tax. Vacant properties get hit annually based on ownership status. Third, the city of Vancouver has its own empty homes tax, which has been running since 2017 and now sits at 5% of assessed value on any home that sits empty more than 6 months of the year. And fourth, BC's short-term rental rules, which came into force in 2024, restrict most short-term rentals to a host's principal residence. So even if Ottawa opens the federal door in 2027, the provincial tax wall is a separate decision made by a separate government. And so far, BC has pushed back. When the biggest developers in the province asked the government to ease provincial restrictions, the province said no. And let me make this real with one example. A foreign buyer looking at a $1.5 million property in Metro Vancouver right now, under current rules, is paying the base property transfer tax that works out to about $43,000, plus the additional 20% foreign buyer PTT, that is $300,000 on top, plus the annual speculation and vacancy tax of 2% of assessed value. That is $30,000 every single year the property is not their primary residence. And the city of Vancouver empty homes tax, if it ever sits empty, and we're talking about tens of thousands more each year. That is the wall. The federal ban is just one brick in it. So when people say the foreign buyer ban is the only thing keeping foreign money out, that just simply isn't the full story. BC's tax wall is doing most of the work. Two governments, two directions. Watch both. Now here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Letting foreign buyers back into new construction is not an affordability fix. Let me be fair to both sides, because both sides are real. On one side, this region is staring down a serious construction slowdown. Pre-sales have collapsed, projects are not penciling, and that puts a lot of trades, electricians, concrete crews, framers out of work. These are good jobs, and that pain is real, and it is coming. Foreign capital buying pre-sale condos helps get those projects built. That is real. But on the other side, be honest what it does not do. A foreign investor buying a luxury tower downtown does not make a home cheaper for a local family. It keeps the cranes moving. It does not move the affordability needle, and the proof is in the data. Look at the most expensive detached neighborhoods on Vancouver's west side: Shaughnessy, Point Grey. Those were the hottest market during the peak of the foreign buyer years in 2016. And since then, they've gone basically sideways for an entire decade. The foreign capital that flooded in did not even sustainably hold up those luxury prices. So both can be true. The construction industry needs activity, and bringing back foreign buyers will not solve affordability. Anyone who tells you this is probably selling you something. So what does this actually mean for you? Let me break it down by who you are. If you're looking at a pre-sale or new construction, pay attention. If the Australia style model goes through, new construction gets a brand new pool of buyers starting in 2027. That supports pre-sale values, and it changes the math on buying now versus waiting. Specifically, a unit you buy today at $750,000 could be selling in a market with more buyers 2 years from now. If you're selling an existing home, this particular change would not change you directly. Under the model on the table, existing homes stay restricted. The buyer pool is local, same as it is now. If you're an investor already in a pre-sale who bought during the 2022 peak, this matters for your exit strategy. A bigger buyer pool in 2027 gives you a better window to assign or to sell. And if you're a first-time home buyer, this is your window. Right now, the market is soft, sellers are motivated, and pre-sale incentives are aggressive. If a bigger buyer pool arrives in 2027, buying now is buying ahead of that demand. The math gets harder the longer you wait. And if you're sitting on an older condo in a flooded node trying to sell, the math is different as well. A foreign buyer return to new construction helps the developers. It does not directly help you sell. You are competing on the resale side where the buyer is still local. You need to price to what is clearing, not to what is being listed. That is the actual takeaway for you. And if you're just trying to read the market, understand this: the rules are a moving target. The deposit you put down on a pre-sale today could complete under a completely different set of rules in 2027 and 2028. Here's the timing that matters. As of now, the ban expires January 1st of 2027. The review is happening right now, which means the decision, extend it, end it, or replace it with the new construction model lands in the next several months. This is not a someday story. This is a this year story. And if you're making a move in Metro Vancouver, you want to be making it with your eyes open on this, not finding out after the fact. If you want to understand how all of this affects a specific pre-sale, a specific building, or your specific plan to buy or sell, this is what I do. Comment the word pre-sale below, and my team will send you my free pre-sale buyer's guide for Metro Vancouver. It breaks down the whole new construction game, start to finish. And if you want it applied to your exact situation, just book a free pre-sale strategy session with me. The link is in the description. Again, my name is Dan J. Reilly. I'm a realtor in Metro Vancouver. Subscribe so the next one lands in your feed. I'll see you in the next one.